All right, so picture this. You're handed this like huge report right on the future of work, and it's like crammed with all these ways tech is changing everything, and you need like the main points, and you need them fast.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what we're doing today, diving deep into this article all about upskilling, reskilling, and outskilling.
Uh-huh.
So we're going to figure out like what those terms actually mean and how they like impact you no matter where you are in your career journey.
Yeah. And this article, it doesn't waste any time.
Oh, really?
It basically says traditional literacy,
Yeah.
reading and writing. It's not enough anymore.
Wow.
It's like the bare minimum in today's world.
Okay, I have to admit that's a little intimidating. It's like saying the skills we thought were like fundamental are suddenly like obsolete.
Right.
What are these so-called new literacies we need to be focusing on?
Yeah. Well, the article breaks it down into the three key areas: digital literacy,
Okay,
human literacy.
right.
And yes, traditional literacy still has a place, but even that's getting like a 21st century makeover.
So it's not just about reading and writing anymore. It's like how you read and write.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the article really emphasizes critical analysis,
Okay,
especially when it comes to all the information like online.
right.
You need to be able to sift through all the noise, identify credible sources, and extract meaningful insights.
That makes sense. We're like bombarded with information constantly. Like being able to filter and analyze is crucial, especially in a work environment.
Absolutely. And the article actually highlights this study
Yeah, wow.
where companies that really embraced AI, they saw like a 20% boost in productivity, but here's the catch.
Oh.
Those gains only happened when the employees had like strong communication and problem-solving skills
Okay.
to work alongside the technology.
So it's not like robots versus humans.
Right.
It's about this crucial synergy between technology and human skills.
Exactly. And now when it comes to digital literacy, it's not just about knowing how to use a computer.
Yeah.
It's about truly understanding and navigating the digital landscape.
So more than just sending emails and browsing social media.
Way more. Yeah,
Yeah.
think about it. Businesses need people who can like use data to solve problems, not just collect it.
Right.
Employees who can use digital tools to streamline processes,
Yeah.
collaborate effectively online, and communicate their ideas in a clear and compelling way.
It's almost like we need to become like digital architects, right?
Right.
Like shaping and molding this technology to fit our needs and achieve specific goals.
I like that analogy. Yeah, it's about being proactive and strategic with technology, not just passively consuming it.
Okay, that makes sense for digital literacy. But what about this human literacy concept? I'm really intrigued by that.
Yeah, this is where things get really fascinating.
Okay.
Human literacy is all about those essential soft skills we often take for granted. Communication,
Huh?
collaboration, critical thinking, adaptability, resilience, like the list goes on.
I have to admit, for a while, I thought soft skills were a bit overrated. But then I worked on this project where these like brilliant technical minds were completely undermined by their inability to communicate effectively.
Oh, wow.
It was a disaster. That experience really drove home how crucial those human elements are, especially in like a fast-paced work environment.
You hit the nail on the head. Yeah, companies need people who can not only adapt to new technologies, but also
Yeah.
navigate like the inevitable stress and uncertainty
Right.
that comes with constant change.
So being a quick learner isn't enough. You also need the emotional intelligence to handle the roller coaster ride
Right.
that comes with like a rapidly evolving workplace.
Precisely. And think about it. If a machine can do a task faster and cheaper, what makes you irreplaceable?
Yeah, what does?
It's your ability to think critically, solve problems,
Yeah.
creatively, communicate effectively, and build strong relationships.
Yeah.
Those are the skills that set us apart.
Okay, we've got our three literacies, digital, human, and traditional. But how do these actually play out in the real world?
Right.
How do we apply these concepts to like different career stages?
Well, the article smartly breaks it down into three groups: those who are already employed,
Okay.
those seeking new opportunities,
Right.
and those just starting their careers.
Okay.
Each group faces like a unique set of challenges and requires a different approach.
So let's break it down, starting with those who already have jobs. What's the key for them?
For those folks, it's all about upskilling, continuously adding new skills to their repertoire to stay ahead of the curve.
Okay.
It's like leveling up in a video game, always striving to reach the next stage of expertise.
So if you're like a graphic designer, maybe you need to learn how to incorporate AI tools into your workflow
Right.
or master like the latest animation software.
Exactly. It's about staying relevant and competitive
Yeah.
by constantly evolving your skill set.
Okay.
Now, for people changing careers or re-entering the workforce, the focus shifts to reskilling.
Okay.
This is where you take your existing skills and knowledge and apply them to a new field.
So if you've been a teacher for years, but now you're passionate about instructional design, you can leverage your teaching experience and pedagogical knowledge to excel in that new role.
That's a perfect
Oh,
example.
yeah.
Yeah, you're not starting from scratch.
Right.
You're building on your existing foundation and adapting your skills to a new context.
Okay, and what about those just entering the workforce? What's their strategy?
For them, it's all about outskilling. It's
Mhm.
about identifying those in-demand skills early on and proactively developing them to ensure they're well-equipped for success in this ever-changing job market.
So it's like front-loading your skill set to make yourself as adaptable and valuable as possible right out of the gate.
Exactly. It's about being strategic and forward-thinking, recognizing that the skills you need today might be completely different from the skills you'll need 5 or 10 years down the line.
The article uses a really interesting example to illustrate these three approaches.
Okay.
It talks about a cashier working in a store that suddenly introduces self-checkout kiosks.
Ah, yes. The cashier example. It's a classic illustration of how technology can disrupt traditional jobs,
Right.
but also create new opportunities.
Okay, let's play this out. Let's say I'm that cashier.
Right.
What are my options in this scenario?
Well, if you embrace upskilling, you might learn how to maintain those self-checkout machines, troubleshoot technical issues, or even train other employees on how to use them.
So instead of being replaced by the technology, you become the expert who keeps it running smoothly. That's a great way to stay relevant and valuable.
Exactly. Now, let's say you decide to embrace reskilling. You could leverage your customer service skills to transition into a tech support role for those self-checkout systems.
That's clever. You're already skilled at interacting with customers, explaining things clearly, and resolving issues patiently.
Right.
You're essentially transferring those skills to a new context.
Right. And finally, if you're all about outskilling, you might use your natural empathy and communication skills to train customers on how to use those new self-checkout kiosks.
You become the bridge between the old and the new, ensuring a smooth transition for everyone.
Exactly. And you make yourself indispensable in the process.
That's a fantastic example. It really brings those three approaches to life. But from a company's perspective, how do you actually put these concepts into practice? I mean, how do you go about creating a future-proof training program that addresses all these different needs?
That's where things get really strategic.
Mm.
The article lays out a practical framework for developing a skills-based training program, and it all starts with a thorough assessment of your current workforce.
Makes sense. You need to know where your employees stand currently before you can start talking about developing new skills.
Exactly. It's about identifying both obsolete skills that are no longer needed and areas where employees have the potential to grow. And it's not just about adding new skills, it's also about letting go of outdated ones and really focusing on what's relevant for the future.
So it's like decluttering your skill set, getting rid of what you no longer need, and making room for what will actually make you valuable.
That's a great way to put it. And once you have a clear understanding of your employees' strengths and weaknesses, you can start aligning training goals with the company's overall objectives.
Okay, so we get why these skills matter and how to identify them, but how does a company actually DO this, create some sort of future-proof training program?
That's where the strategic thinking comes. And the article emphasizes the importance of aligning training initiatives with the company's bigger picture goals.
So it's not just about randomly picking some cool new tech skills to teach. It's about being really intentional and strategic with your training investments.
Exactly. What are the company's long-term objectives? What skills are needed to achieve those objectives?
So if a company's goal is to become a leader in sustainable practices, their training program might focus on developing skills related to renewable energy or circular economy models.
Precisely. It's about connecting the dots between skills development and the company's overall strategic vision.
And this is where things get really practical for our listener, whether you're an employee or a manager. This framework gives you a way to start thinking about your own skills development.
Absolutely. It's a roadmap for personal growth.
So instead of just passively waiting for your company to tell you what to learn, you can take the initiative and start thinking about what needs a boost, what needs a total overhaul, and what hidden talents can you bring to the table.
I love that it's like a personal skills audit. You're taking stock of your strengths,
Yeah.
identifying your weaknesses, and figuring out how to bridge the gap between where you are and where you need to be.
And the article provides some really interesting insights into how companies are approaching training in this rapidly evolving landscape. It's not just about those boring old lectures and PowerPoint presentations anymore.
Thankfully enough, the article highlights some really cool and innovative training approaches that are much more engaging, and effective.
Like gamification, that sounds fun. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. Gamification is all about incorporating game-like elements into the learning process. Think points, badges, leaderboards, challenges. It taps into our natural desire for achievement and rewards.
So instead of just reading a manual on project management, you might play a simulated game where you earn points for hitting milestones and lose points for delays.
Exactly. It makes learning interactive and helps you internalize the concepts faster.
That makes so much sense. I remember when I was learning a new language, I used a gamified app that turned verb conjugation into a fun little challenge, and I swear I learned way faster than I would have with traditional flashcards.
There you go. It's about finding those methods that resonate with you and make learning enjoyable. Because let's be honest, nobody wants to feel like they're back in school sitting through a dry lecture.
I think we've all been there, but the article also mentions other methods like hybrid events and job shadowing. What are the benefits of those?
Hybrid events offer a great blend of flexibility and connection. They combine the convenience of online learning with the in-person element of traditional events.
So you can participate from anywhere in the world, but still have opportunities for face-to-face interaction and networking.
Exactly. It's perfect for today's global and remote workforce. And then there's job shadowing, which is a fantastic way to learn by observation and experience.
It's like an apprenticeship for the modern workplace.
Precisely. You spend time with a more experienced colleague, observing their work, asking questions, and even participating in tasks.
So you get to learn from the best by actually seeing them in action.
Exactly. And it's incredibly valuable for both the person shadowing and the person being shadowed.
It's a win-win, but with all these different approaches, it can be overwhelming to know where to start.
That's where self-awareness comes in.
Okay, so this is where you, the listener, come in.
Yes, this is about more than just passively listening. It's
Yeah.
about taking action and figuring out what works best for you.
Exactly. Think about what kind of learning resonates with you. Are you a visual learner, a hands-on type? Do you prefer structured courses or informal knowledge sharing?
The beauty of all these different approaches is that there's something for everyone. And that's really the key to successful skills development. Finding methods that align with your learning style and keep you engaged and motivated.
So if you're someone who loves to tinker and experiment, maybe a hands-on workshop or a coding boot camp would be a good fit.
Exactly. Or if you're more of a visual learner, you might thrive in an online course with interactive videos and simulations.
It's about personalizing your learning journey and not being afraid to experiment until you find what works best for you.
And remember, this isn't just about keeping your job in the face of automation. It's about so much more than that.
That's a great point because I noticed that the article doesn't just talk about surviving the robot takeover. It's about creating a better work experience overall.
You're absolutely right. This article highlights how skills-based training leads to increased engagement, improved employer branding, better customer service, and a more positive work environment.
So it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving.
Exactly.
It's about feeling valued, growing your abilities, and contributing to a company culture that supports lifelong learning.
It's about investing in people and creating like a work culture where learning and development are valued not just as a means to an end, but as an integral part of a fulfilling and meaningful career.
And that's something we can all get behind, whether we're employees, managers, or business leaders.
Absolutely. We've gone deep on how the nature of work is evolving, and it's clear that simply having like a set of skills isn't enough anymore.
Right. It's about continuously adapting, learning, and transforming those skills to meet the demands of a changing world.
And the article doesn't shy away from like the individual's role in all of this. It's not just about what companies need to do.
Right.
It's about what you as an individual can do to stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah, that's where the real power lies, in taking ownership of your own skill development and not waiting for someone else to tell you what to learn.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's like the one big takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with? The future of work isn't something that's happening to us. It's something we're actively creating. And the best way to prepare for it is to embrace lifelong learning, to be curious, to experiment, and to never stop growing.
That's such a powerful message because it really puts the responsibility back on us as individuals to take charge of our own careers and skill development.
Exactly. We can't just sit back and wait for the world to change around us. We need to be proactive, curious, and always seeking out opportunities to learn and grow.
So what are some concrete steps listeners can take today to start future-proofing themselves?
Well, first I'd say take a good, honest look at your current skill set. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What skills are in high demand in your industry or field of interest?
It's like that personal skills audit we talked about earlier. Get out your metaphorical notepad and pen and start assessing.
Precisely. Once you have a clearer picture of where you stand, You can start exploring different avenues for skills development. There are tons of online courses, boot camps, workshops, and even free resources available.
And don't forget about the power of networking and mentorship, connecting with people in your field, attending industry events, and seeking out mentors can provide invaluable insights and guidance.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone and experiment with different learning styles. Maybe you've always been a bookworm, but have you considered attending a hands-on workshop or trying out a gamified learning platform?
Or maybe you're a social learner who thrives in collaborative environments. Consider joining a study group or online community.
The key is to find what works best for you and keep that learning muscle flexed.
Because the world of work isn't slowing down, and neither should our commitment to learning and growth.
Well said. The future belongs to those who are adaptable, curious, and always willing to learn new things.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the shifting skills landscape to the importance of upskilling, reskilling, and outskilling.
We've explored practical strategies for companies to create future-proof training programs and empowered individuals to take ownership of their own skill development.
It's been a fascinating deep dive into the future of work. And remember, listener, the power is in your hands. Embrace the change, stay curious, and never stop learning.